Hello and welcome to Unleashed. I'm your host, Will Bachman. You can find the full show note and transcript for this episode on umbrex.com/unleashed, where if you sign up for the newsletter for this show, you'll also get a weekly email from me with some bonus material. Today, I'm excited to be here with Rob Garmaise, who is a McKinsey alum, and he's currently the VP of AI Research at Infotech Research Group. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Will. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Rob, I was super excited when we spoke about a week ago to understand that you are really at the forefront at Infotech Research of knowing what sorts of use cases companies are actually using for AI, what ones they're exploring. Would love to hear a bit about your role and start getting into some of the insights that you are gathering.
Sure. Yeah. So all of our clients have the same questions for us regarding AI, and it mostly centers around what are the use cases that are right for them. So I would say everyone is feeling overwhelmed. There's a ton that we're reading about every day in the marketplace, new launches, rollouts, fundraisings, announcements, you name it. And we're all trying to figure out which of these are the wheat versus the chaff, which of these are enterprise ready, and which of these are really going to be right for my organization. So for about the
Let's
last,
Let me just
oh,
jump in, and before we get into that, I should have asked for people who aren't familiar with the firm, just give us a little bit of background on Infotech Research Group.
absolutely. So research and advisory firm, we help clients identify best practices across the entire suite of their IT operations, whether that be new systems you may be thinking about investing in, ways of better running your processes, staffing decisions you need to make, just ways of thinking more strategically about what IT provides to the organization. So we do a lot of research and reporting on all topics across IT. We also have a very strong advisory practice where clients can, ring us up, ask us about any topics that are of interest to them, and even have us come on site and work with them in various formats to help them progress in a given area.
With the research that you do, just give us a sense, how many researchers do you have, and how do they actually gather the information? Is it mainly interviewing clients of yours or companies that are not necessarily clients of yours? Like what's the source of the primary material?
Yeah, a lot of the all of the above. So a lot of primary research, a lot of secondary research, speaking with industry experts, speaking with other clients about their experiences, vendors about their visions and value propositions, and just other folks in the industry where we can glean, for a given practice, can we really find the drivers of value and proof that that practice leads to a better result? And that's a lot of how our research is predicated.
Okay. And then I imagine they have a whole series of categories of research, and you are in charge of the research around AI.
We do. We have a vast research taxonomy, as we call those categories, and AI certainly forms an important part of that taxonomy.
All right, cool. All right. So I interrupted you before. Tell us some about like the type, what you're learning about AI, and I don't know if you want to dive into specific industries or just kind of whatever you can share. I'm curious to hear.
I do. First, I'll tell you a little bit about how we produce it. So, as I mentioned, there's a ton going on in the market, way too much for any of us individually to possibly keep track of. So, we've had a team in place for the last year or two looking at nothing but who are the thought leaders and trying to connect not just with these thought leading vendors, but with at least two of their leading adopter clients so that we hear kind of maybe the story through rose-colored glasses from the vendor, and then we confirm with the clients, did this lead to a good result or not? And from that, we're able to figure out what are the various functions, roles, verticals, subsegments where AI is really taking root. And I would say just at the high level, we see the strength in the marketplace currently more at the functions and roles or more horizontally across the organization rather than the various verticals or lines of business. And I think the reason for that is simple. Most AI vendors really looking to maximize their total addressable market. Hard to do if you only focus on just one vertical. So they're mostly starting by taking a horizontal approach. We see that mix changing as we go, so we fully expect to have more vertically oriented competitors in the market as we go. But so far, if you ask me where the strength is, I'd say it's 80% on the functions and roles, 20% on the verticals.
Okay. Tell us about some of the function and roles where you're seeing companies implementing AI solutions now that are practical and having an impact.
Oh, it's hard to know even where to start, but I'll start with IT itself. So we're an IT research company. Obviously, we know IT really well. So everything in IT from code generation and the tools there are getting really good. So when we started this process, these tools would complete your function calls for you, kind of like autocomplete does for Word. And now they'll create entire blocks or paragraphs of code based on natural language prompts. So some really strong offerings in code generation, code completion. We're seeing a lot in data and analytics, including tools that will create your queries for you. So you no longer have to be a SQL programmer in order to find the right data. You just describe the data set you're looking for, and the tools will create all the right joins for you. And within IT, I'll also pick out service management. So service desk tools now that can operate in either Copilot or autopilot mode. Copilot means the tools are instructing your service desk technicians how to resolve a particular ticket. And autopilot means the tools are taking over the resolution of that ticket altogether. And that's just within IT. We're seeing a lot of strength within HR, sales and marketing. There's some really exciting applications, operations, virtually across the entire enterprise.
Let's go through some of them. I'm curious. Tell us about some of the HR things that you're seeing.
HR, I'll start with employee experience. So the ability to get information from my organization, anything from what's my vacation allotment to what's the state of our research or IP in a given topic area. And these tools will index your content regardless whether it resides in Slack, Teams, SharePoint, a content management system, or a document management system, and will interact with your users via those channels as well. So we're really excited about employee experience as a category. We all know that talent acquisition, recruiting uses AI on both sides of the recruiting equation. Both the recruiters use it, job applicants use it. So in a way, it's sort of AI versus AI in that space. We're seeing a lot of scenarios in workforce management. So coaching managers, coaching new leaders, various craft skills through AI, talent assessments through AI, where the AIs can cut through some of the biases you may have resident in your organization. So one of the big benefits of the talent assessment tools is to improve diverse hiring because the bots are just correlating what's required for the best possible performance. They don't particularly care if the candidate looks like them, speaks like them, thinks like them. They're just looking for those positive correlations. So some interesting scenarios there as well.
Okay. Um, what are you seeing in sales and marketing?
Probably the most exciting areas for me are in sales and marketing. So sales enablement, sales automation are tools that can do anything from generate your leads for you, help you profile your leads so that you're targeting the right ones and prioritizing your efforts accordingly. Nurture and warm those leads by having bot-driven conversations with them, and then transfer those leads to a live sales rep when they're ready to convert. So I'd say that whole sales enablement, sales automation space, the top revenue driving category that we've seen by far.
Mm.
And similarly, the top cost saving category would be customer experience. Similar to employee experience, where we're answering questions coming from within the organization, here with customer experience, we're answering questions from outside the organization. And these can be all level 1, level 2 calls coming to the call center, and the ability to contain or deflect roughly half of those calls. So a huge cost saving for any organization. But by and large, we're seeing clients use this for a cost avoidance rather than a cost reduction per se. So instead of laying off call center staff, they're repurposing folks so they can focus on higher value add calls, which we think is a win-win for the organization.
So I guess that applies to both phone calls as well as, phone calls as well as emails and so forth.
Phone call, email, chat, you name it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then what about more internal operational tools?
Operations are some really interesting use cases. A lot of them have to do with computer vision. So the ability to parse the information captured from your video cameras, This could be for a shop floor setting, a retail environment, a restaurant, and they'll answer questions like where are my customers queuing, where are they dropping off, when my machine went offline, did it have the right staff present, did it have the right materials present? So the ability to have natural language conversations with your own equipment. And that bleeds into the area of predictive maintenance, where you can start to really strategize. It's not so much eliminating machine failure, but it's better predicting it. So one case study told us, as a result of these tools, prior to implementing, they had less than 1 day visibility before a machine going down. Since implementing these tools, they now have 2 weeks visibility. So you can plan better, strategize, optimize your operations accordingly.
Your phrase "conversations with your own equipment." That that's so cool. I mean, I imagine it's not far away where your your pill press or something says, "Hey, I've got a little ache in my back. I could you take a look at it?" Right?
That's happening right now. They could spot the ache before you do. The machine might not even realize yet, but the AI can.
Wow, that's incredible. Um, okay. What about some, it sounds like it's 80/20 more on the functional side, but in some of the more industry specific type solutions, maybe insurance industry or something. Tell us about some of the more industry vertical type solutions that you're seeing coming along.
Yeah, I'll tell you the ones that have impressed us so far, as well as some of the disappointments so far. So on the positive side of the story, retail, we've really been impressed with some of the solutions we've seen. This includes the ability to scan any store shelf with your smartphone and immediately receive a host of critical metrics like, is my product in stock? Is it priced correctly? Promoted correctly? How am I doing relative to my competitors if I'm my CPG for that shelf space? So all sorts of strategic questions I can answer just with my cell phone. There's also some amazing smart digital signage solutions that will morph based off of the demographic and even the reaction of the viewing customer. So even some somewhat spooky capabilities in retail. In
Wait, wait.
legal, go ahead.
Tell us how they're reacting. I look at it. Oh, I can't. I'm not. What sort of reaction would they react to?
Yeah, if it's a positive reaction, then I might give a little bit more information about the offer that's being presented. If it's a negative reaction, I may switch it up a little bit and try something else. So it's the ability to react in real time to what you're gathering from your client.
Wow. Okay. Um, what else in retail?
Those are primarily the ones for retail specifically. We've seen some other supply chain solutions that impact numerous industries, retail included. But I would say, the coolest use cases we've encountered so far for retail are the in-store ones.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I imagine they're doing things like you mentioned earlier with video, having video on the shelves so you could automatically detect if there's going to be a stock out or getting close to a stock out, something like that. Um,
Yes, those solutions I mentioned where you're scanning with your smartphone, they also have kind of fixed formats of that solution where it just sits at a given store shelf and continuously gives you metrics and updates for what's happening at the store level. So same.
what I'm looking forward to is when there is some kind of Google Maps for the supermarket that you're in. Where like, where is where is like the canned chickpeas? Is it in the
It's funny you say chickpeas. That's exactly what comes to mind. It could be in any aisle.
right?
That's put on my list, I know it's going to be a long day at the grocery store. So I agree completely.
Yeah, like is it in the Italian international section or is it, in the, Middle Eastern section or something? It's some of those items uh they're hard to find, right? But if individual individual stores and you have to go ask an employee or find someone, it'd be nice if there was just a tool where you could ask the store, where is this located?
We know the technology is there, so I'm surprised we don't have that yet. I agree.
What about other industries? What are you seeing like in insurance or financial services?
Well, let me cut to one or two of the other
Oh, good. Yeah.
good news stories, and then some of the more disappointing stories thereafter. But legal, we're seeing a lot of solutions. So everything from legal research, drafting documents, reviewing contracts, negotiating contracts, all the way to managing the ongoing life cycle of a contract. So some really important use cases there, not just for law firms, but also for any organization running an in-house legal operation. Really, the ability to run that in-house team as if it's double the size, which we see as being critical given how understaffed legal teams generally are. So we're seeing a lot for legal. We're seeing a lot for manufacturing, including some of the scenarios I mentioned before. The computer vision scenario includes the ability to offer real-time instructions to machine line operators. So they can be specific as what angle to hold your screwdriver in order to create the right amount of torque and correct you in real time if your angle is incorrect. So some exciting use cases there. The disappointments, I would say financial services, healthcare, government, all areas where we thought we'd see more solutions available for the market. Healthcare in particular, we see a ton of companies, but just not with product ready for today. Possibly because these are more regulated industries and the adoption process just takes longer. Possibly because these industries all require not just a high 90s% of accuracy like AI can provide, but really very close to 100%, if not 100% accuracy. And the solutions just aren't there yet. But regardless, I would say it's been slimmer pickings for some of those other industries. On financial services, though, we are seeing solutions for fraud detection, digital trust at large, in insurance, the ability to parse frequent documents like insurance claims and turn them into really well-constructed spreadsheets or databases, and even the ability to conduct remote inspections given the type of insurance you might be in. If you need to inspect a car at a remote location, the tools can do some of that inspection, or inspect a house, that for that matter, do some of that inspection for you.
Yeah, another guest on this show, a consultant who's doing some work for insurance companies, was helping develop a solution that would review all of the contracts for a given customer, because a lot of times there have been so many revisions over the years, they didn't even know exactly what all of the clauses were that they had agreed to. So I think
Yeah,
this
which
solution.
it's pretty closely related to what we're seeing on the legal side, so that makes total sense. Some of those contract review tools really are to die for, to the point where law firms worry with some of these tools, how will they train their juniors? Well, the tools can do the training because they're showing you exactly what risks to look at in different types of contracts and where certain contracts may vary from what the boilerplate is. So both useful things to know when you're doing contract review.
What are you seeing in terms of trends between companies using some sort of all-purpose solution like a chat GPT or a Claude versus using a point solution that might be using ChatGPT in the back end, but a more purpose-built solution? Um, any kind of trends between these like highly specialized solutions versus just integrating the 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 more open-ended large language model?
The trend we're starting to see is that AI is something you want to buy, not build. And by that, I mean, particularly the AI model. If you think everything involved in building your own proprietary model, getting the data together, governing that data, going through the process, coming up with the right weightings for your vector models and whatnot. These are things that generally are not required for most of your AI use cases. So our advice to our clients is AI is really something you want to buy, not build, and only build when absolutely necessary. So if you're in an industry that's not well covered by the marketplace, or if your needs are so unique to you, then sure, you could build, judiciously. But just be aware that when you do so, it wouldn't shock me at all if a year or two down the road, the market will eventually provide what you've put all your time and effort into building. So we advise our clients to be very deliberate about those build decisions in particular. Buy before you build. In terms of some of the issues in the buy side, one downside of buying is you could end up with app sprawl. So many of our clients have come out of this era where they had tons of applications, all of which did similar things, and they had to rationalize those applications, and they don't want to see that sprawl return. So there are AIs that are more platform plays. In the employee experience area comes to mind, an app we really like called Glean. Boy, if you purchase Glean, not only are you getting a good employee experience app, you're getting an app you can build on for other AI use cases. So look for those if app sprawl is an issue for you. But by and large, I think our biggest piece of advice is don't build unless you absolutely have to. It's just too much work, too much money, and the timeline's too uncertain to really merit it in most cases.
Tell us about what you're seeing regarding talent and consultants related to this. So, on the talent side, what are you seeing companies doing? Are they hiring new types of chief AI officer or something like that? Or is it primarily the existing employees, the chief digital officer, chief technology officer, chief information officer? Tell us about, like, yeah, first just talk about talent and organization.
I would say it's primarily IT who's driving AI forward. We do see chief AI officers in certain situations, but most of the time it seems to be IT who's really left in charge of this.
Hmm.
Uh, in terms of net new skills for the organization, particularly if you're pursuing a buy side strategy, there's not many. It's really just the regular app process with a few extra checks to make sure that that vendor is keeping your data private and secure, which in most cases they are. If you're building, it's a different story. That's when you start having service providers. You may need additional data scientists on the team. You may need data modelers on the team. So on the build side, you've got more of a skills issue if you really want to build a big model that's new and unique to you. But short of that, I would say it's probably mostly the current IT team that's just incorporating that into the work that they already do.
And on the consulting side, I'm curious to hear. I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that the big consulting firms are doing a lot of business around this, and
Mhm.
every Fortune 500 company is using one of the top strategy firms on a big multiple AI projects. But that's sort of just very through the grapevine. Curious what you have been hearing and seeing. Are companies using a lot of consulting related to this? Um, curious what's going on there.
We do a lot of work, as I mentioned, on AI Marketplace. We focus mostly on the product companies, but there are just about as many service companies as there are product companies. So it wouldn't shock me if our next deep dive was on the services side of the market. There's
Hmm.
just that many, and we're talking literally tens of thousands of companies. It's that large. I would say, again, most of our clients still trying to orient themselves. So are they spending some consulting dollars potentially even unnecessarily? We think probably so. But if the role of the consultant is to help direct them towards, hey, here's some of the buy side scenarios where you don't need to do a huge implementation. You just need to get a POC or two going and off you run. That would certainly be a valuable service.
Amazing. Rob, for listeners who are interested to learn more about your firm's research, where would you point them online?
www.infotech.com, one word, Infotech. And while you're there, please visit our AI Marketplace page, which is under AI and innovation on our site. And you'll see a lot of the same categories and use cases I referred to in this discussion. You'll see posted there as well.
Amazing. Rob, thanks so
I'll
much
also
for
mention
joining.
you'll find us on YouTube. I believe we have an Infotech channel on YouTube, and you can even see some of the interviews we conduct. These are all recorded discussions we have with vendors, and we post those to our YouTube channel. So look for us there as well.
Incredible. And Rob, if it's okay, I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes if people want to find out more about you. And thank you for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and happy to return the favor. So love to have you talk about what you're seeing with some of our clients. So let's make this an ongoing discussion if we can.
Sounds good.